Today, we're diving into an incredible ancient story. It's about a legacy, a single tradition that was passed down for millennia through 84,000 kings. It's really a story about a chain. And, what happens when just one person decides to break it? But we're not just going to tell this story as you might have heard it before. Oh no, we're going to peel back the layers of translation, dig right into the original language, and you're going to see how just a couple of simple words can unlock a much richer, way more powerful meaning than you'd ever expect. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going on a little journey here, moving from the common, everyday translation, then drilling down to the root meaning of the words, and finally seeing the powerful visual story that just pops out when you look at it this way. So, our story kicks off with this legendary king. His name was Magadeva, and he started a very, very specific practice in his favorite mango grove. This wasn't just a fleeting idea. It was a tradition he fully intended to last forever. And you know what? For an unbelievably long time, it actually did. An unbroken line of 84,000 kings followed his example. I mean, just stop and think about that. A single chain of legacy, passed from one to the next, stretching across a span of time that's almost impossible for us to even wrap our heads around. So, what was this incredible tradition? What was so important that it lasted for so long? Well, it all started when the king got a message. But this wasn't a message from another person. It was more like a message from time itself. See, one day, the king's barber was doing his thing, combing the king's hair, and he noticed something. In the original Pali language, this is what the text says. Now, don't worry, you absolutely do not need to understand Pali, but let's just see how this line is usually translated into English. So, the standard translation is pretty straightforward. He saw some gray hairs on his head. Okay, a sign of getting older. We all get it. But the original language holds an idea that is so much more poetic, so much more powerful. He didn't just see plain old gray hair, he saw devote, which literally means divine messengers. Think about that perspective shift. Gray hairs weren't a sign of decay or something to be dreaded. Nope, they were a sacred message, a sign from above that his time for worldly things was over and it was time to start a new chapter, a spiritual life. So this divine message prompts the king to kickstart something the text calls a kalyanam vattam. And you guessed it, just like with the gray hairs, the real magic here is kind of hidden in the translation. I mean, look at the difference in feeling here. A noble tradition sounds fine, it's correct, but it's a bit stiff, a bit static. But the beautiful turning, wow, that captures the action, the essence of it all. It wasn't some dusty old rule. It was a living, breathing, dynamic process. And that's because the word vada comes from a root word that means to turn or to revolve. This wasn't some chore they had to do. It was this beautiful, totally voluntary pivot. A turn from being the king of a whole kingdom to seeking wisdom. A turn that kept this incredible cycle of legacy going. And the process itself was just this incredibly graceful transfer of power and responsibility. The moment the king saw those divine messengers, he would reward the barber who found them, he'd pass the throne to his son, and then he'd retire to that same mango grove to live a life of meditation, simple, elegant, and repeated for ages. So this beautiful turning continued for 84,000 generations, until one king, a guy named Kalarajanako, saw his own gray hairs, and made a totally different choice. The text marks this moment with a very specific, and I mean very heavy, title for him. It says he cut off the beautiful turning, and by doing that, he basically earned himself a brand new name in history. So, in modern English, we'd probably just call him the last man in the line. But the root meaning is so much more pointed. Antimepariso is better translated as the terminating link. He was the one who actively took that long, beautiful chain and just snapped it. You see the difference? He didn't just happen to be the last one, he caused the end. This just brilliantly illustrates the sheer weight of his decision. He didn't just break some rule. He completely shattered a beautiful cycle that had been intentionally, gracefully carried forward for an almost eternal amount of time. And right here, just after this sad story of a broken legacy is told, the whole thing takes a fascinating twist. The Buddha, who's been telling this story the whole time, suddenly reveals his own personal connection to this ancient chain. He just comes out and says it. I was King Makhādeva at that time. He was the one who started the whole thing, all those eons ago. He forged the very first link in that chain. But then he explains that his old path, that first beautiful turning, while it was good, it only led to a better rebirth in the next life. He says he has now established a new and much more profound beautiful turning. This one is designed for a much, much higher purpose, complete awakening. And this new path, it's the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a new kind of legacy, a whole new chain, designed not just for a slightly better life, but for ultimate freedom, for real, complete awakening. And this, right here, is the crucial point. He turns to his followers, his students, and he says these words. It's an echo of that warning from the original story, but believe me, the stakes are so much higher now. Do not be the terminating link for me. He is pleading with them. He's saying, carry this new, more liberating tradition forward. I've forged this new chain for you. Please, don't be the ones who let this one break. And so the story leaves us with this really powerful question, a challenge that echoes directly to us, right here, right now. What beautiful turnings are we a part of in our own lives? And what is our role in making sure that chain, whatever it is, remains unbroken?